Okay, item 14 is the Committee on Ordinance, to whom is referred an order that schedules B and C of Ordinance 2-35 be updated as appropriate with competitive salaries to attract and retain employees. Recommended that changes to the mayor, council, and council president in salary schedule B be referred to the full council without recommendation, and recommended that the changes to police matron and substitute nurse in salary schedule C be adopted. Councilor Rivera?
Thank you. So this one has been in the the committee jacket for quite some time, and so we were able to take it up. Kelly Curran came in and presented on a couple different occasions. She took statistics from different neighboring communities regarding different pay rates or pay increases that have occurred over the last, I want to say 10 to 12 years. Ideally, it's not so that we're trying to, give councilors or the mayor or anyone serving a particular raise just because they need a raise, but because it's been quite some time that most of these positions have gotten any increases. And to be honest, I just seen something the other day where it said if the community, and I'm not saying that the council has to be like that, but just in general with regards to minimum wage buying power, if you were to compare it to the 70s, the buying power with the minimum wage dollar, you would have to have minimum wage at $66 today to match the buying power of the 70s, what minimum wage was. That's just an interesting fact for me to kind of stumble upon during these times while we're actually looking at different salary negotiations and different negotiations throughout the whole city, not just what we have to deal with. The first one, for the most part, is the mayor, council, and the council president salaries. Is just looking at them, reviewing them. This doesn't take effect until the next election cycle, if it were to be voted in. Then there is a schedule, I believe it's the Schedule B, and then I believe the other one is Schedule C, where it's an increase for police matron because it's been a hard time to recruit. They've been struggling to get people to apply. And then I think the recommendation by Councilor Vacan, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, was to eliminate the current position of the substitute nurse, as the position hasn't been filled in for quite some time. I think for us, we were a little warm to it in the meeting, but ideally, I think that it's not just that easy. But if it's the will of the body to move in that direction, according to our director of HR, it wouldn't be something that would be controversial for her in this particular moment in time. So that being said, I think I would open it up for discussion, if that's up to you guys, or up to the president, and then hopefully we can move forward to get some of these adopted, or just have the conversation around Schedule B, because that one did go without recommendation, just because we're all counselors and not, for the most part, some of us didn't agree, but then some of us did. But we wanted to make it something that could actually have conversation when it came to full council.
Thank you. So would that be perhaps a motion to pass the first reading, so I can open it up for discussion?
There you go. Motion to pass the first reading. Thank you.
Motion to pass the first reading. Under discussion, I have Councilor Vacan and then Councilor Jourdain.
So I guess my first would be a point of order. Can we have two separate votes on B and C, since
Sure.
one has no...
You making a motion?
Yeah.
So I'd like to make that as a motion, that
Okay.
we do separate votes.
Okay.
So what's the motion is to segregate B and C?
Correct.
Okay, so I'll second that.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to separate the two changes in salary schedule. So we'll do you want to do the first one that's there first, and then we'll do the police matron and substitute?
That would be great.
Okay. Councilor Rivera?
Yeah, I guess I would need further explanation as to how that works, because it's all one particular order or one particular item. So just trying to see how, just breaking it up and taking different pieces just to vote on it, even though it's all one item. I just...
Sure. We can take two separate votes.
Yep.
But Councilor Vacan, did you want to add anything?
Well, I was only going to say we made two different recommendations.
Right.
Sort of.
So we'll just do two separate votes. So, yes, Councilor Jourdain,
Are we going to vote on the nurse one first or the,
whatever the will of the body is,
okay.
do you
We
guys
do
have
the nurse one first?
Okay. I'm,
All right.
Councilor Bacon?
That's Schedule C.
Thank you. The nurse is in C. And I just want to clarify that the reason I made the motion to just eliminate that particular item on the list is because it's not been used in over 20 years. So it, to me, was a cleanup. If for some reason our nurse was not able to fulfill the position, the money is in the budget line for that position. So you don't really need a separate line. That was the basis of my motion, but the committee wanted to keep it in, and it doesn't hurt anything.
Right.
So,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
But I just wanted it to be understood that it wasn't a cut of any sort. It was more just to clean up the list.
Okay, thank you.
That's all. Yeah.
So yes.
Relative to Schedule B,
Okay,
if we're going to take them separately. So in Schedule B, proposed is a $30,000 increase for the mayor and a $1,000 or $2,000 increase for city council. And
Or
4,000
for the council.
Okay, I stand corrected on that. I just don't have all the paper right in front of me right now. But I think we're in a time where the people that we're serving are not getting 30% raises. They're not getting 20% raises. They're getting maybe 3, maybe 5. And I think it is just an overreach to put these kind of increases on the table and pass them for ourselves or for the mayor in this season. We've spent almost a year, maybe more than a year, talking about taking away about half the mayor's job and giving it to another person. So this doesn't seem to be, to me, a good context in which to give a big raise, while at the same time over here, we're debating giving half the position responsibilities to a new person. So that's my perspective relative to these, and so I will be a no vote on changing Schedule B. Thank you.
thank you, Councilor Jourdain.
Yep, thank you. So I have no problem with the nurse change in Schedule C, so I'll support that vote. But on Schedule B, I'm also a no vote, and I want to explain why. So a couple of things. One is, when we're going to consider increases for elected officials, be it for ourselves or for the mayor or clerk or what have you, these are supposed to be increases for the position, not for ourselves. All right? So we're way beyond that window at this point to be considering. If it was the will of ordinance or the body or whoever's moving this, that we would have these type of votes to do an increase for the mayor and the council, this should have came in a year ago. Because then it's fair to the whole public, right? Council votes on it. In January of 2026, the mayor is going to go up 30%. The council is going to get a 40% increase. It's open to everybody. You want to run for it? You can get the raise. If you think, does that enter into your calculus? Well, I can't really afford $100,000, but maybe for $130,000, yeah, now I guess I could afford to be the mayor. I want to be the mayor. Who knows what goes into everybody's individual decision to run for mayor, council, any of these positions. But salary is certainly a factor, particularly for a full-time position like mayor. Then, when nomination papers opened in January, February, whatever it was, people could have taken out papers and run for the mayor's position, or for that matter, our council positions. None of that is done. Now flash ahead, July 29th goes by, nobody else can run for mayor, and in the 11th hour before the election, we're going to now come in with an increase for Mayor Garcia, who's running unopposed. Whether that's intended to be unethical or not, it could be clearly appear unethical, because it looks like you're handing Josh Garcia, because he's guaranteed to be the only person that will get this position, and he is guaranteed he's going to be the guy to get the 30 grand. Okay? That should have come up a year ago when everybody had an opportunity to be mayor and run for the job. I have never seen pay raises come in after the deadline is closed for nomination papers like this. I've never seen that. Now, council, for ourselves, many of the people on this council are running unopposed, and there isn't even, technically even at large, there's only 3 challengers for the 6 of us. So 3 of us theoretically are guaranteed re-election. We don't know what 3 of us, but 3 of us are guaranteed re-election, right? We can't do that. We're essentially voting ourselves a pay raise. And if you're unopposed, you're voting yourself a pay raise. At least if you did it a year ago and it was transparent, or even at the beginning of the year and said, hey, this is what the pay is going to be, 1/1/26, and if you want to run, okay, great. You can't do that now. The window is closed, in my opinion. That's the obvious reason why none of us should vote for this, because you shouldn't be voting yourself a pay raise. Again, when we're doing these, it's for the position, not for us personally. That just sets another bad precedent. Again, one of the reasons I care to believe I'm sitting in this room, that the public likes me being here, okay, is because I will say that and I will vote no on these type of deals. This is not okay for us to do that. And when we've had, and I get it, pay raises for elected officials is controversial. It's not an easy vote. I will grant all of that. And whether it's warranted or not, the window for that has closed a long time ago. So on that alone, this should be defeated. We can take it up, next year, maybe to consider for some date in 2030 or whenever the mayor's next term is going to be. We have now time. You got 4 years, in my view, because this now, we cannot vote to give Josh, to hand him 30 grand. Point number 2, the mayor's position is evolving at this point, waiting to see what happens from the Modernization Act. We should also see, are we taking duties away from the mayor, primarily in the financial area? We don't know if that's going to pass or not. We should consider that into the equation. Because if we're taking a large quantity of duties away, and we're not sure how that's going to shake out, but that's certainly the proposal on the table, does that offset the need for a 30% increase? And then, certainly, obviously none of us are running for these positions. If you are, you're sadly mistaken. If we're running for this for the money, for sure. But I would only suggest that amidst the overall financial climate of the city, where we're at financially, is this justified? But those other arguments, to me, are foreclosed by the definite first argument, which is we do not just give raises to ourselves when there isn't the benefit of an election where everybody's had an opportunity to go for that salary. Because now, if somebody said, I wanted to be mayor at $130,000, that should have been told to them and known to them when the opportunity to run for the position was available. That is now closed as of July 29th. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilor Rivera and then Sullivan, and I have a long list. I've got you all.
Mine's just a point of order.
Oh,
We had a motion to separate these two. It was second.
yeah, I was
Never
gonna,
voted.
thank you. I was gonna get back there. So there was a motion to take two separate votes on these ordinance changes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Counselor. I have Counselor Rivera, and I do have you. I have you on the list, Counselor. I have, yes, thank you. I have Counselor Rivera, and then Counselor Givner, Anderson Burgos, McGrath Smith, Devine, and Graney. So, Counselor Rivera?
Thank you. I think I got to address the part where the insinuation of unethicalness. It was just not too long ago where people were offended because they were called a liar. But now the accusations of someone being unethical is being thrown around. It's interesting to me how, on one end, it's not fair when things are done in your direction, but on the other end, you're easily willing to do it to someone else. The irony in this is amazing to me. But I think that I just want to put it out there. I'm not giving myself a raise because I could potentially lose. Not giving the mayor a raise, not even trying to give the mayor a raise. If you actually go back to the meetings and you look at how many times we met on that particular issue, it's been a long time. And we've been meeting for many, many times. Never came out of committee because we wanted to get it right. Make sure that when we presented it to you guys, to the full council, it'd be able to be presented to the full council with the correct information and all the stuff that's needed. But there's a game being played where procrastination is being put back and back and back. The same thing is happening with municipal finance. It's a game being played. And if we really are about the people, we don't play games for our own political gain. We play games to help the people, if that's the case. If someone if someone wants to run for mayor because it went up to 130, ideally you'd think that you don't want that person as a mayor. They're only going for the job for the money. They're not actually doing it to actually be the mayor of the city. If you're looking at the salary, I think for me it's, did this particular individual want to run for mayor? Would that salary be good for them to run for mayor? Is that the reason why? I guess there's a lot that sticks out to me when it comes to anything that has to do with moving the community forward. I just saw the other day a post where someone was saying, "Oh, we're doing this right with the schools and all this other stuff." Technically, to my understanding, what we paid for this one particular school would have probably paid for the both of them if we had passed that vote years ago.
Thank you.
But we only paid for one for the same price that we would have paid for 2 years ago. But I don't know. Like, to me, it's amazing to me. Like, we're saying that we're putting ourselves and voting for ourselves, but people are playing political games in the background, asking people to run, not knowing who they are, not knowing their backgrounds, having them come forward to try to run and try to control the council. This is what's happening in real life time. I'm not meeting with other people on the side to try to say, hey, I need this seat, that seat, that seat. That's not the game that's being played on my end. I'm not being unethical. I am not trying to manipulate what the city is going to look like for the next 10 to 12 years. That is not my goal. My goal is to try to help the people, make sure that there's a good education for my daughters moving forward, make sure that there's better jobs, make sure that the police do the job for the taxpayer, not the federal government, to work for the people here in Holyoke, not the federal government. For me, it's important that we work here for us, for Holyoke first, Holyoke second, Holyoke last. Not one particular councilor, not one particular ideology, and not one particular mayor. If we give the mayor a raise, I didn't expect $130,000. If someone would have wanted to say, hey, maybe give him 105, maybe give him 107, I don't care. It has no bearing on me or any of that, even with the council stuff. I knew everyone was going to be against it, and I knew they were going to take this moment to grandstand and do their thing that they always do. I knew that. That's fine. Listen, the part for me that sticks out, true colors are being shown when at the one end you get upset that people call you out, but on the other end you do the same exact thing to a colleague, and it doesn't make any sense because none of this was my intention in being unethical, even though I'm constantly accused of that for it's been a couple years now, This is going to my 4th year. Before I even got in, I was being unethical, quote unquote. So ideally, I just wanted to kind of put that out there and say that people of Holyoke, please understand that we need to work together, and it's going to be hard to work together if the council can't work together, because we are playing political games in the background. This is not Game of Thrones. This is not House of Cards. It's none of that nonsense. This is real life, not a movie, not a show. Even though some people like to watch us on TV, I get it. But ideally, we need to get the work going, and we need to get things moving. Sorry it's taken so long for this to come out. Had the committee gotten together and agreed to some of this stuff a long time ago, even if it would have came out with no recommendation, it would have came out a long time ago. Go back and look at the meetings. There's a bunch of meeting dates that we came up on this. You could say that it just came up all of a sudden and that we just rushed it through now because all of a sudden July 29th passed. If that fits your narrative, great. Go ahead and do your thing, run with it. I'm just telling you that if you do your research and you do your homework, you'll see that we've been meeting on this for quite some time already. It didn't just pop up last week or 2 months ago. With that, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Madam President. So the one thing I wanted to reiterate was that we have been talking about these salary increases for quite some time. I think we started talking about these in March of this year. I know we were absolutely talking about them in May, so I'd have to look back at my notes to see, but these were not proposed by city councilors. These were proposed by the HR director of the city, and they were proposed more than a month ago. They weren't proposed last month. They weren't proposed in the middle of July. They weren't proposed just now. This is not new information. It's just finally getting to the council for a vote. I also wanted to reiterate the fact that if somebody thinks that they should run for mayor because of the pay grade, they're probably not the person we want running anyway. I don't see anything nefarious happening. These are not negotiation, but these are discussions that we've been having for several months, at this point. As far as the meager pay raises, I would reiterate that, I thought it was an interesting tidbit to hear that in order to have the spending power that somebody would have, in the 70s, we'd have to make like $66 an hour. That's wild, considering that $20 isn't even the minimum salary range. I mean, these numbers are crazy. I don't want to say that to make it sound like I don't feel for the taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a homeowner. I'm feeling the crunch. I'm feeling the pinch. But I don't think that these raises to city government officials are the problem. I think, we have infrastructure issues that we haven't been dealing with. We have a lot of problems as a city. So, and that's what we spend a lot of time in here talking about. I would also like to add that when we look around this room, the people who do run for office they have some privilege, right? Like, you have to be able to afford to sit here. You have to be able to support yourself somehow. And if that, extra $2,000 or extra $4,000 helps somebody to, be able to afford to work a couple less hours at one job and spend more time on the city, I think that's really great. Also knowing now, like, I don't think that anybody runs because of what we're paid, because it's not enough. We basically make like 2 cents an hour if you start to calculate what we actually take home. It's really a stipend, so I don't think this should be a big issue. I think for the people that it helps to help them run for public office, I think it's really important because, unfortunately, most cities don't have enough of the people who live there and work there and, really spend all their time in the communities having the opportunity to run. So if this helps more people run, I think it's a really great thing. But I just wanted to reiterate that point, that this is not new information. We didn't just start talking about this. This came out of HR I want to say at least 6 months ago. I could be wrong, but it definitely came out before people pulled papers. Before, so anyone who would have pulled papers would have known that there would have possibly been an increase, on the table for city councilors or the mayor. So if you didn't run for mayor because you didn't like the number at the time, well, maybe you should pay more attention to city council meetings. And if you ran only because of that, I don't think you're the person for the job anyway. So I just wanted to reiterate that I don't think there's anything nefarious going on. We're just talking about money in the city like we always are. These are not new discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess I first want to start with, unfortunately, some of the comments that were made I found quite offensive. But, this is my 4th term, so I learned to have a very thick skin. But yet, it's still offensive, and when you make it public, it's I don't know, it's just, it's uncalled for, and that's how I feel. I was going to ask, how long have this been in committee? And what it sounds like, it's been in committee since March, and it's been part of the discussion. But I guess another question I wanted to ask is, when was the last time, and for the record, I'm not doing this for the money, because I will, for the record, I get in a month, $719. I don't hide that. $719 I get for the work I do for the city, and I don't do it for the money. I want to be clear. I do not do it for the money. Okay? But does anyone know when the last time a city council or the city council got a raise? Because I believe it was like in the 80s or something like that, and either late 80s or 90s or something like that. It's been many, many, many years. Very, very long time. So again, clear, I'm not doing it for the money. What I started thinking about was, when it's time to pull papers, when nomination papers are ready, and we're trying to get folks to run against me. I don't care. Run against me. Run against my colleagues. Run. Get you engaged. But when people ask, what do you get paid? Because yes, it's a factor. We have lives. We have to pay bills, right? And some of us don't have that good job. Some of us don't have a regular job that it's going to allow you to work off this salary to factor that into your lifestyle. There's just no way. So that means that only certain individuals will sit in these chairs. Is that fair to the city as a whole, for people who might have different point of views that would love to engage? No. So sometimes you have to make it worth that while. And again, if I'm going to vote for this, I'm not voting for the mayor. No, not for the mayor, not for me, not for any of you, for the people who say, I want to put my hat in the ring, but financially I can't afford it. Because think about it. This line of work takes away from our families and friends. And can we talk about the stresses we go through? Okay? So this has nothing to do with the mayor or money in my pocket. I want to make that clear, because this is my 4th term. I'm now going into my 5th term, so it's very clear. I am definitely not doing it for the money. This is because it's what is right. Plain and simple. There is no scheme, there is no game. It's plain and simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGrath-Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. So I wanted to name that this order was originally filed May 2nd of 2023. 2023. By our Director of HR, Human Resources, who wanted to share we should be updating these. And here is a comparison between you and other towns, because councilors are starting to bring up their concerns that, one, we weren't seeing a lot of people interested in running for office. And also that, it was part of a wider concern. Look at all these positions. We're having a hard time holding on to employees. There's a lot of turnover, and it's very expensive to retrain people, to find people, all of that. And there's just hidden costs every time we lose an employee. And so that was submitted. It was taken up in committee a year later, now in April 27th, 2024. And at that point, a number of counselors, again, these are procrastination, delay tactics, said, well, now the information seems old. Could you give us new information? I feel like we need updated information. That updated information was then found, was then re-brought to the committee. And we looked at it again November 13th of 2024. Sorry, we looked at it October 9th of 2024, then again in November 13th of 2024, and then we brought it up again June 16th, 2025. So it's not like this is coming up out of left field. And every time it's come up, the same counselors have aired a whole different slew of concerns. And they're different every time. But the concerns are still there. And the votes are still against it. I think it makes sense for, and if you look at this, I think it freaks people out. I understand that. The numbers look really high. That's also because there's a big gap between where we are and where our surrounding towns are. And our HR director was doing what we tasked her to do, which was to go find us what would bring us up to comparative rates in the towns that surround us. And we are not in alignment with them. Some of us, I think, maybe are proud of that. I think there are other of us who are saying, let's try to bring it up more to what other area towns are compensating people for. So I think maybe this looks like a lot. Maybe there's a compromise. I also don't hear anyone saying that. People seem interested in saying, yes, 100%, let's go, or absolutely not, nothing. And for the folks who are saying no, I would love to hear what's your offer? What are you interested in doing? Do you want to keep things exactly as they are? Or are you looking at this and saying, you know what, it's reasonable. City Council president right now makes $1,000 more than what anyone else makes. It's insane, the amount of work that we're asking our City Council president to do for $1,000 a year. It is a thankless, very hard task. They represent us at every ceremonial thing. They take every call. They're answering every email. They're in lots of organizational meetings. I think that position deserves more than $1,000 more than the people who are sitting in this side of the dais. So maybe there's a compromise. Maybe we should be saying, well, let's do a $2,000 raise to the city council president, a $500 raise for city councilors. Maybe the mayor should have a $5,000 raise. I'm just not hearing any compromises. That doesn't seem in any way realistic to me. That's how most people operate. Oh, we're far away from where we should be. Let's take a step forward. And I don't hear that either. So that's why the committee moved it in the way that we did, because the feeling was that, at least from my perspective, it didn't matter what the numbers were. The answer would be no. So, okay, here's the numbers that were given to us. Here's what was proposed by the professional that we asked to do the research and bring the numbers to us. We can always say, let's lower it. But I don't hear that either. I just hear no. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilor Devine.
Hello. Meg just took all of my sayings. I think she did a great job. One of the things that I also agreed with her was, and not to embarrass our city council president, but out of all the city council presidents that I've worked under, no one has worked as hard as Tessa Murphy-Ramboletti. She is everywhere. She goes to meetings. She leaves work to go to these meetings. She lets us know about these meetings, and to get a lousy $1,000 more, that $1,000 goes way back to the time of Joe McGivern, the time of Todd McGee. It doesn't go to her. And it really, I believe she needs more than $1,000. And just for a little background, for those of you that may not know, many years ago, I was getting off the council and we were making $750 a year. And I can't remember who brought it up, but it was brought up that it was going to be to $10,000, which is what we're presently making. And this was years and years and years ago. And I remember sitting here thinking how strange it is to vote for my own raise, and it was a pretty substantial raise. But then I thought about it. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have half the way that we were able to do council meetings. We had to go to city council meetings. We had to do our homework. And that's why I voted to increase our salaries from $750 a year to $10,000 a year. And I had no problem with that whatsoever. But it has been a long time. And like Councilor McGrath-Smith said, I don't think anything's stuck in stone. Let's move this forward to after January, after that swearing in takes place, and then let's negotiate reasonable raises. But the one that I really think is should not be this low is our president, because she does an awful lot, and I'm trying not to embarrass her, but she does. And I think everybody here knows that. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilor Graney.
I'll cut to the chase. We have constituents out there that don't make $30,000 a year. I can't vote for a $30,000 increase for the mayor, period. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilor Rivera for a second time, and then Councilor Jourdain for a second time. I'm making sure I'm not missing anyone else. Oh, this Councilor Rivera. I apologize. Jenny Rivera. For the first time. My bad. Usually I put your first initial. Oh, and Councilor Sullivan. Okay. So Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Thank you, Madam President. So when I give the yes vote, I'm not taking it as I'm voting or giving myself a raise. Because of current councilors, this term and the previous term, I have a preliminary election coming up on the 16th. So I don't even know if I'm going to get in. I know I'm doing my things right. The stuff these other one specific counselor is doing it's the wrong way, but whatever. So I just want to say, when I first entered here, myself and Councilor Izzy Rivera, we worked at the school department. I went to school for that, and we had to leave because of city council, and we were told how frustrated they were here. So we had to choose either to become a city councilor and make $700 a month and quit the school. Izzy and I said, we'll be city councilors for free. We'll still work for free because that's what we love to do in our community. We like to volunteer for everything. I go to all wards. I don't just stick to Ward 1. I get calls from all wards because I know everyone, mostly everyone in Holyoke. So I just don't concentrate on Ward 1. And if there's something that's in another ward and I can't handle it, I try to reach out to the councilors in that ward to help out. Even Councilor Carmen Ocasio, before she even became a city councilor, me and her were down in South Holyoke helping out all those victims for the fires. I can't say I saw many councilors out there. She wasn't even a councilor, but Councilor Ocasio is just like me. She's always out in the community, and not just because she's a city councilor, because this is what she was doing before becoming a city councilor. Her and I were at that fire with those victims, bringing them to hotels, helping them get food, helping them get clothing. We're doing that for free. Because I wasn't expecting to get paid just because I'm helping victims out. When the fire happened in the flats, where people died, jumped out of the buildings, I was there. I didn't sleep. I was there helping. It was winter and it was very cold. I was there helping. So I'm not giving myself a raise. Because to be quite honest, it's $700 and something a month. I'm a director of operations. I have a full-time job. I'm a justice of the peace. I'm a notary public. I do a lot. So I'm doing it for my community, and that's what I like to do. And on top of that, the donations people ask for you. Most of my $700 goes towards donations to the community because they also ask for donations. and I try to help out as much as I can. So just sit there and say that we're giving ourselves a raise, no, like, again, like Meg said, this is on there for 2 years. The problem we have is a lot of these things stay in the jacket, and they don't get pushed forward. So we're not doing it to give Josh a $30,000 raise. We're doing it because it was brought up in 2023 when the HR director was told to get numbers. So with that being said, I am gonna vote yes on it because, like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna be voted in with all the fraud that person, individual's doing, but do I care? I don't care, because at the end of the day, I'm still gonna be here for Holyoke. Holyoke people are still gonna know me, and not because I'm a city councilor, because that's not why people know me, because I'm a city councilor. I'm out there and I help out a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilor Jourdain and then Councilor Sullivan.
I'm willing to wait if he wants to. I don't think Mike spoke yet. I'm willing to wait.
Councilor Sullivan?
You better go ahead and speak because I'm going to make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Councilor
So
Jourdain?
then I'll I guess I'll reclaim my time then, if I may, Madam President.
Go for it.
Thank you. So a couple of things. I just want to clarify one point about what I was saying is these are the things that put the council in an unfavorable light. And this is the point that I'm trying to make is I'm not saying anybody's intending to be unethical. It's that these type of things, when they come in after the deadline to file, when no other candidates can run for these positions, listen very carefully to what I said. I said that you could be accused of that because nobody else is going to get this money other than the mayor, Joshua Garcia. January, you are voting. No other person can run. The election is a fait accompli. He's going to get it. More power to him. But on January 1st, you are voting to give him $30,000 a year. And if you're on the council and you're unopposed, you are voting to give yourself $4,000. And for that matter, as I even said at large, 3 of the 6 of us are guaranteed re-election because there's only 9 people running. It's basic math, right? So the point is, why we have never done it that way is because we didn't want to be accused of doing that. It's not somebody, that's a big difference than somebody coming in here and saying, you're a this and you're a that, and name calling, okay? That's the distinction that apparently some in the room can't pick up on. As far as this point goes that, well, we've been discussing this for 2 years and we've been debating it and it's stuck in the jacket, I can't help how long it takes folks to get to a point to get things out of their jacket and get them up here for a vote, all right? But the fact of the matter is, this was not a done deal until right now. Here's the vote, yes or no. And if the council were to vote yes, and I don't think they will, but I think if the council were to approve this, then that's for us only, and for the mayor. The benefit of anybody, if you wanted to seriously have this, it should have been taken for a vote, yes or no, at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, when everybody had an opportunity to run for that, for all the good points that people made about, I have to sacrifice a lot of time to be here, time away from my job. Everybody in this room works hard. And as far as, you know, I was the president for 6 years, okay, as everybody knows. And I signed up for that. It's a totally voluntary thing, right? If you don't want to do it, don't do it. You don't get extra points because you sign up for something that's a voluntary thing. And I'm not just saying present company, I'm including myself, I'm including Joe and Todd, all the presidents I've been involved in. We signed up for that. I want more money because it's a totally voluntary thing. If you don't want to do it, right, then don't do it. And as far as the rest of it, this is just basic fairness to the democratic process. You have to give everybody knows what the deal is for the position in advance so they have an opportunity to make a fully informed decision whether they run or not. And the salary for the job matters, because how do we want to be accused that somebody said, well, I couldn't afford to run for mayor at 100, but you know what, if I knew the job paid 130, maybe I could have afforded to run. I could have given up my current job or whatever and run. That's not fair to voters. That's not fair to candidates. And that's why we don't do that. And but as far as where do we go from here? Well, the where do we go from here has another of open items that I mentioned. And that is the fact that, one, let's see what happens with the mayor's duties in the central government. And number two, we have ample opportunity, not for the current mayor, but for 2030, that we could consider an increase for the next, whoever is elected in the next 4-year term. So that's the way it's always been done at the beginning of a term, but a term when it wasn't already decided. And that's the part that people are missing. It's not about, well, we talked about it as a maybe. I didn't know, and I follow this. I'm sitting here as one of the 13. If you told me 6 months ago, well, maybe on September 2nd, they're going to take a vote to pass that, I would have had no idea. And there's nobody following what goes on in this room closer than me, right? So there you have it. That's why we, in my opinion, have to vote no on this. I think it's the only correct vote. And we go back to the drawing table and discuss it for the next term, what the merits are. And again, there's a lot of changes being made in the mayor's position, and whether or not, for the council position as well. And by the way, it was 2000 that we made the last change for council salary. Thank you.
I was in 6th grade. Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you. So, in the spirit of compromise, we have a small window, November and December, after the election. We wouldn't have to burden the next group of councilors in December, right, with making a decision about giving themselves a pay raise, right? So my motion right now is to table the recommendation for Schedule B, and we take it up again in November after the current election.
I'll second
Therefore, it will affect people in the next term, but we can get it done through this body without affecting this body and not leaving it on the table for the next group to come in January.
So the motion's been made to table, and it was seconded, so no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. It is tabled.